For me, a knockout is inevitable. It's not something that I have to think about. It's just an end result of years of training and just a God-given ability. Fun. You're now rocking with the best. You're now rocking with the best. There are fights out there that have been given second chances by the UFC, but I think it's because they're desperate for it. They're begging, they're asking, and my motives are different to a lot of the other people out there. So I don't have to beg the UFC for nothing. If they want me to be there, then I'll be there. You're now rocking with the best. I am the most effective knockout artist currently in the welterweight division. I think that still rings true to this day. In the welterweights, I have especially at the high levels, I have the highest knockout ratio. I am undoubtedly one of the best pound for pound European fighters. Fun. I think the current MMA landscape is weak, to be honest with you. It's not as competitive as it was 4 or 5 years ago. There's fewer promotions that can afford the big name fighters. There's few promotions that are doing things correctly. There's few promotions with good broadcasting deals, a good marketing team as such. And I just feel that there's not much outside of the UFC and Bellator. Well, Cage Contender has had a number of big main events, big name fighters, Dean Lister, Jeff Monson, to name a few. You know, they approached me with a great offer. I like Ireland. I've been to Ireland a couple of times. I seem to have a lot of fans over there. They have a great broadcasting deal. They offered me a good deal, good contract, and you know, it just came at the right time. Patrick Valle is an all-round guy with a good submission game, but he thinks he can, you know, I've seen him training with Vanderlei Silva and I've seen a lot of his sparring footage and a lot of his fights. And he likes to do a bit of punching before he attempts a takedown, which is going to be where he goes wrong. And obviously the game plan's to knock him out. My game plans don't differ because that's just what I do, you know. It doesn't need to differ, it's successful. So I haven't got to change it. I don't need to become a submission fighter. I don't need to become a wrestler or a ground and pound specialist. I just need to stick to what I'm good at. He's just going to be a sitting target, really, because if you haven't got the wrestling to take the fight to the mat, then there's not much else you can do when you're fighting me, apart from try and survive.
Oh, what a body kick! Knees right as oh, that one landed, and you saw immediately there was smoke, and the bomb's not flying, Stephen. You don't want to be in this position against Paul Daly. When you eat a knee, then start eating those left hands.
I think walkout music is, you know, very important, especially for me as a fighter. I think a lot of people, you know, they just walk out to music with a heavy beat or, you know, something that's going to get the crowd jumping. But for me, when I pick a walkout tune, it's relevant to me. It's not relevant to who's in the audience. I'm not trying to, you know, please the audience. I'm trying to put myself in a mental state that's going to prepare me for what I'm about to do. So when I'm picking my music, I'm listening to the lyrics and I relate that to maybe a point in my life, a point in training or something like that, where I've had to. Most of the time it relates to a little struggle that I've had to overcome. The same way that my coach passed his knowledge on to me, I think it's important that you pass your knowledge on to someone. It's a community gym, really. You know, there's not much opportunities for people around here, and I just feel like with it being in the location that it is, for those that are seeking some kind of outlet or some kind of way to pursue something greater than what's around them, then, you know, I'm their avenue to that, being that I've pretty much done what they may aspire to do.
So with Paul, we're working on his power. We're coming to the end of his power cycle. So now we've got to maximise that power, hit our peak for about a couple of weeks just before the fight, so he's ready to go. The key thing with being explosive is its power. Mixed martial arts is a sport where power needs to be translated. You can be strong, but you might not be powerful. You know, a punch is power. If you haven't got power, you can't knock anyone out. So when I'm training my athletes, particularly Paul, as an example, we need him to be as powerful as possible and maintain that for the whole point of the whole length of a training camp. Because if he's weak, he ain't going to get those famous knockouts he's known for.
There's some people that are born to be fighters. You know, life circumstances and other things can influence that and develop that character in them, but for the most part people are born fighters. I think your life situation is going to help with the mentality that you take with you into a fight. Now some people, they just don't have that mentality, and I call them the athletes of the sports. Guys that aren't, they fight because it's in the sport, but they ain't really fighters.